to take our children towards Islamification in this country, not just in Turkey. But, you know, that's the reality that he shows in this documentary, Killing Ed. And I want to go back to what he has to tell us about the nukes at the Air Force Base. We need to take a look at what's going on with Erdogan as well, what is happening with his connection with NATO, how he is going to be blackmailing the United States to get his rival, Fethullah Gulen, extradited. I think he's going to be blackmailing them with this base, which also, as Mark pointed out, has a lot of nuclear weapons on it as well. Before we do, real quickly, I want to let you know again that we have a special on DNA Force. Now 25% off at InfoWarsLife.com. Again, that is our formulation, one of our premier formulations. It's $30,000 per batch to add in this patented BioPQQ compound. It's backed by 175 clinical studies, much, much more potent than you'll find in any other antioxidant. You will find these clinical studies will define what this can do for you. We can't make those draw those conclusions for you here on the radio, but you can read those reviews as well as the clinical studies. And right now you can try this at 25% off or stock up if you've been using this at InfoWarsLife.com. That helps to support our operation, helps to support our reporters. We're going to be covering the Republican National Convention with Alex Jones all this next week. And of course, we'll be at the Democrat National Convention the next week. Also, get your Hillary for Prison t-shirt. Now is a great time to fly that flag. And with your support, we've been able to fly the banners behind the airplane. If you want to see that report, you can see Rob Dew riding in the plane. You can see the pictures of the banner that is now flying over Cleveland. They're going to shut down that, I believe, as the convention is going on. They're going to make it a no-fly zone. But we've got that out there, and there's a lot of press, a lot of delegates already in place. And that's made possible by your support. So get your Hillary for Prison t-shirt. It helps to support our operation along with the supplements that we sell at InfoWarsLife.com. And we offer these things to you as a discount from time to time as a thank you. And that's we've got 25% off of DNA Force, one of our most expensive products that we have because of BioPQQ. 25% off right now at InfoWarsLife.com. Mark, let's talk a little bit about the connection. And as we between all these different schools. The various schools operate in different jurisdictions under different names. Like here in Texas, we have the Harmony schools. In California, they go by, what's the name?
Magnolia.
Magnolia schools, okay? And they say, well, we're not connected. But you document how they are connected in your documentary, Killing Ed. Let's take a real quick look at a clip from the documentary where you show how they are connected.
Gulen charter school operators will claim that their schools are unrelated. They'll also will claim no connection to the Gulen charter schools that are abroad. There is always a way to find out that these schools indeed are connected. They often use the same text in their welcome letters. These are welcome letters that are maybe posted at the beginning of a student handbook for the year. So you have here the Bay Area Technology School in Oakland, and the second paragraph says, Baytech is a reflection of all of us. All of our policies are intended to provide a safe and orderly environment that will be conducive to learning. But then you have the school in Pennsylvania, YSCP is a reflection of us all. Our policies are intended to provide a safe and orderly environment that will be conducive to learning. Oklahoma, Discovery School of Tulsa is a reflection of us all. All of our policies are intended to provide a safe and orderly environment that will be conducive to learning. Tajikistan, Dushanbe International School is a reflection of all of us. All of our policies are intended to provide a safe and orderly environment that will be conducive to learning. Ethiopia, Najashi Ethio-Turkish International School is a reflection of all of us. Hong Kong, the Rosebud Primary School, a reflection of all of us. The school in Korea, a reflection of all of us. Massachusetts, Hampton Charter School of Science is a reflection of all of us. Magnolia School, same sentence. These are all schools that will deny a connection with one another.
So they pretend that they're all independent schools. They pretend that they're schools of science and math. And yet, as you just documented, as people just saw and heard, they are all connected.
Yeah, generally speaking, this is just one example of the connections between the charter schools that we're paying for here in our country and the over 1,000 other schools that the Gulen movement operates in other countries. You can see Korea, Ethiopia. They're operating in Africa, essentially every continent except Antarctica. And that might be soon, who knows. But they're operating these schools. Certain people have called this the education jihad. You know, the Gulen movement has also been called by Daniel Pipes jihad or Islamism 2.0, because they're using our system to really get their political will established. And they're
well, that is always the case. People have to understand that when they turn their children over to the schools, okay, you're turning your children over to people, in many cases, you don't know what their background is, you don't know what their agenda is. And that's why we've looked at so many different aspects, whether it is Common Core, or whether it is the social justice warrior indoctrination that's going on in our schools now. People need to understand who these people are that are setting the values for the educational system. They're not really concerned whether Johnny can read or write. They're really concerned about getting these kids and bringing them into their political point of view. And that's what we've seen from Plato and his Plato's Republic. That's what he advocated, making sure you don't know who your parents are. In Plato's Republic, they wouldn't even know who their parents were. They would be raised by the state. The state would instill their values. And so we need to be very careful and understand when we look at these schools, these are the values that they're putting into your children.
Well, I want to point out, too, that I don't believe that there's overt teaching of Islam in the schools. They're way too smart to teach.
They don't want to lose that $500 million. They don't
want to lose that tax money, and they understand that that would be a problem. However, I do believe, and I've researched this, and we could not put it in the film, but I do believe that there's conversions going on. I do believe that there's indoctrination going on. They generally take boys on trips, on overnight camping trips that they think might be susceptible to joining the Gulen movement. It may be 5 or 10 boys.
They're grooming people. They're grooming people as a pedophile would groom them for their particular point of view, for their religion and that sort of thing. That's what these trips to Turkey that they do with children, with politicians, are grooming the politicians as well.
Well, I think you might be right. I mean, there's all kinds of corruption that's gone on. Our tax money has been used to send many thousands of children on summer trips from these schools to Turkey to spend time with the Turkish children at the schools there. They've sent many, many hundreds of our politicians. There's been a congressional inquiry into this. People even like Ted Poe, who's a very conservative Republican, went on one of these trips to Baku. It's just amazing to see who's been involved with this group. I think many of these politicians have been manipulated. They may not know exactly who they've been dealing with, but it's hundreds of politicians from the federal government all the way down to our local.
It's a common technique. You know, when we looked at the case of Justice Scalia dying, you know, we look at situations where you'll have these people will take junkets and trips, and then they'll use them to try to gain friendship and influence with people. And you can never know exactly what was going on with this. Was it a quid pro quo, or are they just making close alliances and friendships with people? It's not clear. But let's talk about the other side of this. Now, we're talking about Fethullah Gulen, who's running this network of schools here in the United States. He obviously had help from the CIA in getting here in the United States. We've also got Erdogan getting help from the CIA, and also Erdogan helping in turn, being essentially a conduit for ISIS. We've seen the videos showing massive convoys of trucks bringing in oil into Turkey. Okay, so they're laundering the Turkish oil, the ISIS oil for them, and also acting as a conduit for weapons. So you've got different groups that want to get this guy out of Turkey as well. But he's got this base. Talk about the base and talk about the nukes that are there and the leverage that he's going to use to both stay in power and to try to get Fethullah Gulen extradited.
Well, it's been reported that there's 90 nuclear warheads at the Incirlik Air Force Base in Turkey. And I understand there's some kind of strange agreement that 40 of those nuclear weapons are reserved for Turkey to use in case there's an incursion under Article 6 of the NATO agreement. I don't know particularly about that, but it has been reported that Erdogan is not allowing NATO missions from Incirlik. And I believe that he's using that as a bargaining chip right now to get Gulen extradited quickly back to the United States. And who can blame him?
Oh, yeah. So that's his leverage right there. And, of course, this is going to develop as we go through the various days. Thank you so much, Mark Hall. The documentary is Killing Ed. You can find